Congresswoman Michele Bachmann.
Congresswoman Bachmann, after the last debate, a young member of the California Tea Party said he didn't feel that he had had his question fully answered, and it's a question that received the most votes on Google and YouTube on the list as well. The answer to his question is a number, and the question was, quote, "Out of every dollar I earn, how much do you think that I deserve to keep?"
And after the debate, I talked to that young man and I said, I wish I could have answered that question because I want to tell you what my answer is. I think you earned every dollar. You should get to keep every dollar that you earn. That's your money. That's not the government's money. That's the whole point. Barack Obama seems to think that when we earn money, it belongs to him, and we're lucky just to keep a little bit of it. I don't think that at all. I think when people make money, it's their money. Obviously, we have to give money back to the government so that we can run the government, but we have to have a completely different mindset, and that mindset is the American people are the genius of this economy. It certainly isn't government that's the genius, and that's the two views. President Obama has embraced a view of government-directed temporary fixes and gimmicks. They don't work. He's destroyed the economy. What does work is private solutions that are permanent in the private sector. That gives certainty. That will grow our economy.
I've taught in both public and private schools, and now as a substitute teacher. I see administrators more focused on satisfying federal mandates, retaining funding, trying not to get sued, while the teachers are jumping through hoops, trying to serve up a one-size-fits-all education for their students. What, as president, would you seriously do about what I consider a massive overreach of big government into the classroom?
We need to do in education what's always worked historically, and that's local control with parents. What doesn't work is what we see happen right now. I'm a mom of 5 biological kids. We've raised 23 foster children in our home. The reason why I got involved in politics was because of the concern I had about our foster children, the education they were getting. What I would do as President of the United States is pass a mother-of-all repeal bills on education. I would take the entire federal education law, repeal it, then I would go over to the Department of Education, I'd turn out the lights, I'd lock the door, and I'd send all the money back to the state and localities.
Would you support each state enforcing the immigration laws since the federal government is not? Congresswoman, could you answer Tim's question? And if your answer is yes, how do you square that with the Constitution, which says that Congress has the power to establish a uniform rule of naturalization?
Well, the reason why he's asking this question is because the federal government has failed the American people and have failed the states. It's reprehensible that President Obama has sued the state of Arizona and the governor of Arizona for trying to protect the people in Arizona. That's wrong. As President of the United States, I would do what my job would demand of me. That's to uphold the sovereignty of the United States of America. To do that, I would build a fence on America's southern border, on every mile, on every yard, on every foot, on every inch of the southern border. I think that's what we have to do. Not only build it, but then also have sufficient border security and enforce the laws that are on the books with the ICE agents, with our border security. And here's the other thing I would do. I would not allow taxpayer-funded benefits for illegal aliens or for their children. That's a magnet. And the magnets for illegal aliens to come into the United States of America. Brett?
Governor Johnson, thank you.
Excuse me, Brett. Could I weigh in on this?
Congresswoman Bachmann.
I'd like to weigh in on this because according to the State Department's website, there are 4 nations that are state sponsors of terror. Cuba is one of those nations. We would never have flights between the United States and Cuba. It's a state sponsor of terror.
In 2006, you said that public schools are, quote, teaching children that there is separation of church and state, and said, quote, I am here to tell you that's a myth. Do you believe that there is a limit on government's ability to inject religion into the public square, and if so, what is that limit?
Well, I think that Thomas Jefferson stated it best. He was the author of the religious liberty that he valued so much, and that's that the United States government should not be a state church. That's really what the fundamental was of separation of church and state. And when Jefferson wrote a letter to the Danbury Baptists wanted to know, will you have a national church in the United States? He said no, because we believe in freedom of conscience. We believe in freedom of religious liberty and expression and speech. That's a foundational principle in the United States. But that doesn't mean that we aren't people of faith, and that people of faith shouldn't be allowed to exercise religious liberty in the public square. Of course we should be able to exercise our faith. And whether that expression occurs in a public school or occurs in a public building, we should be able to allow to have freedom for all people to express our belief in God.
Congresswoman Bachmann, in the last debate, you criticized Governor Perry for his executive order mandating that 6th graders get the HPV vaccine to prevent cervical cancer. Then afterwards, you suggested that the vaccine was linked to mental retardation, and you said that it could, quote, potentially be a very dangerous drug. But the American Academy of Pediatrics has looked at it and says that the HPV vaccine has an excellent safety record. So my question to you is, do you stand by your statement that the HPV vaccine is potentially dangerous? And if not, should you be more careful when you're talking about a public health issue?
Well, first, I didn't make that claim, nor did I make that statement. Immediately after the debate, a mother came up to me, and she was visibly shaken and heartbroken because of what her daughter had gone through. And so I only related what her story was. But here's the real issue. Governor Perry mandated a health care decision on all 12-year-old little girls in the state of Texas. And by that mandate, those girls had to have a shot for a sexually transmitted disease. That is not appropriate to be a decision that a governor makes. It's appropriate that parents make that decision in consultation with their doctor. But here's the even more important point, because Governor Perry made a decision where he gave parental rights to a big drug company. That big drug company gave him campaign contributions and hired his former chief of staff to lobby him to benefit the big drug company. That's what was wrong with that picture.
What I'm asking for is, how are you going to turn this country around? We'll go down the row, 30 seconds each. Congresswoman Bachmann.
I agree. It's time to reach for the brass ring of liberty once again, and we can. The signature issue of Barack Obama and his presidency has been the passage of Obamacare. This week, a study came out from UBS that said the #1 reason why employers aren't hiring is because of Obamacare. That's why I introduced the bill to repeal Obamacare, and as President of the United States, that's the very first thing I would do, is repeal Obamacare.
Again, if you had to choose a running mate, one of the people on the stage with you, who would you choose and why? 30 seconds down the row. Congresswoman Bachmann, back to the original question.
Obviously, we need to have a strong constitutional conservative, and that's what I would look for in a vice president. But I want to say this as well. Every 4 years, conservatives are told that we have to settle. And it's anybody but Obama. That's what we're hearing this year. I don't think that's true. I think that there's any year, President Obama has the lowest public approval ratings of any president in modern time. He hasn't gone to the basement yet. It'll be a lot lower than what it is now. That's why we need to choose a candidate who represents conservatives and constitutional conservative positions.